I realized the reason why I was in counterfeit relationships, because my relationship with God was really counterfeit. I did not have a genuine relationship with God, because if I did, I would not cheat on God every time I was in a relationship.
Hey guys, it's Damien.
And I'm Kenady, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about how God saved us both from counterfeit relationships in the past.
Yeah, so many times people look at our relationship and think we have it all together. And it wasn't like that in the beginning, and it's still not that right now. So Kenady, tell me about your counterfeit relationships with the S.
So I'm not going to get into too many details.
Okay.
Because, yes. But the main common theme was like, you know, I desired to be married.
Okay.
And any Christian single guy that was cute, I was like, he could be my husband. Like, this is my husband.
This is him. That's him.
And so I would literally like, okay, he's cute, check. He's single, check, at least I think. And he's in church, check. He can be my husband, great. And a lot of times we have to realize the temptations that we fall for is birthed out of desires that we have.
Wow.
And so I literally was just like thirsty, like every Christian guy at church, I'm like, he can be my husband, like.
So did you look at me like that?
No, I didn't actually.
Wow.
I think we told that story because I was afraid of you.
Okay.
I was afraid, I was like, but yeah, I literally was afraid of you. And so I was like, yeah, let me not, because I wouldn't even look you in the eyes, you remember?
He would look
I
down.
was like, I was so awkward with him. But God literally, like you said, blinded me from you, because I would have sabotaged.
Yeah,
like if I was thirsting after you within that dysfunction, like I so would have been like, and we wouldn't be here probably. Yeah. So yeah, that was just me, like thirst trap. I was thirsty, a thirsty single lady that's like, he's Christian. And we have to realize, like, just because they claim to be Christians or in their church doesn't mean that they're men of God. So that was my common counterfeit cycles.
Okay.
What about you?
So I think my cycle started with list, like you was talking about. It's like, you know, she had to be 5, whatever. Her family had to be straight, dogs, hate dogs, cats, all that stuff. Like,
don't tell people that.
Hey,
we don't like dogs. That's an uncovered about.
We don't like dogs, right? So this list, I think, got me in trouble because on that list was this type. And so I think I was motivated or influenced by my community because everybody was getting married. People was getting married to women who were outside of the race. My community, and then the culture and the TV, like you had to marry somebody outside the race. And so that really, I guess, hurt me in pursuing a relationship. And so that's where my counterfeit was. And so I had this view of this woman, and I wanted to date all women who were outside of race, right? And then mold them into what I wanted them, right? And so I was just literally disregarding how they treated me. I was disregarding their actions. And the biggest one, I want y'all to listen to this. The biggest one is I was disregarding my relationship that was falling away from God. Like, and so I was just looking past that just to be with these type of women. And so I was thinking about this, Kenady. Most times your type is God's antagonist to your story.
That the enemy will use to get you to fall away from who God has.
Yeah. And so think about that. Is your type God's antagonist?
That's good. Because it can blind us, like from what God is trying to give us, and we Christians serve them. Because I know you don't fit the mold,
you don't fit. But
God knows what we mainly need and also want as well too, in a spouse. And I remember you telling me that one of the counterfeit relationship people was a palm reader.
Oh, yeah.
And they told you that. And so a lot of times we have the red flags that we look past, like someone that's a palm reader in witchcraft or
literally witchcraft.
And you know, sketchy things like maybe this guy is cheating on me or not. Just a lot of these red flags, you know, lust, all these things. But we don't want to talk about that because that's like everyone talks about the red flags. But what about, I know in my journal, Counterfeit Relationships Journal, I talk about the flags on the play.
Wow.
Like, yeah, the red flags that we see in other people, but what are the flags on the play that you're responsible for? Like the boundaries that you break, that you set up for yourself, or the nudges from God that you completely disobey or things like that, that you literally have a flag on the play. So what was that in your relationship?
I think you mentioned the word boundaries, right? One time there was a young lady who was traveling into the state, and it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, let me come see you. And she says, Damien, isn't this breaking the boundaries you set about not leaving your house and not seeing women late? And I was like, oh, don't worry about it. And I ended up going over there into the hotel, and I almost fell. I'm not going to even lie. I almost fell into sexual sin there. And so that was one of the boundaries that I broke, or the flags on the play. Another one, Kenady, was being on the phone with a young lady late at night. That's never good, right? And so we just talking about stupid stuff, right? That's what we always talk about, like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And then I'm asking the young lady, listen, what do you have on?
Yeah,
like that's about, like, that's not going to end up well, right? And so that's one of my, or both of my flags on the play. What about you? Did you have flags on the play?
Flags on the play.
Yeah, all S's.
So my flags on the play would probably be using them as idols in my life, like cheating on God a lot, to like, you know, oh Lord, I want a spouse, I want a relationship, and then as soon as I get one from God, which wasn't from God, I'm like, okay God, bye. Like I continue to idolize them. They pull me away from God, and I actually wander from God. It's not just them pulling me away, but I'm like, okay God, thank you, I got what I want. Now I'm going to be in idolatry with this person. Also pride and thinking, oh, you know, I'm a catch, they're not gonna cheat on me. Like even when I have those nudges from God, or even disobeying God in a lot of the relationships, whether through his word with sexual immorality, or even when I know he's telling me to break up with him and I'm like, nah.
Wow.
And so that idolatry, that disobedience, and that pride was definitely a lot of the flags on the play for me.
So in your journal, you talk about community a lot, in godly community. And one of the phrases that you have is the jewel inspectors. And so with your community in the counterfeit relationships, were you foretelling what you was doing, or what were you doing with when you was in counterfeit relationships and with your community? Because they don't mix at all. So
for me, I would, you know, my girls would know that I'm talking to somebody, and then they would say, he's, you know, he's sketch, or girl, you know, that's not who God has for you. Wow. And so they would be my jewel inspectors because they call out a counterfeit. Okay. But for me, I was like, I don't mind wearing a fake cubic zirconium ring, you know? And so I would like start to creep on the low. I would, you know, talk to this person or date this person without my friends knowing that I'm doing it. So I'd be lying a lot. I'd be hiding from them because I'm like, okay, you called out this counterfeit, but at least I got something, you know. And so I really didn't value genuine relationships. I was like, I just want a relationship, whether it's real or fake, just let me get it. And so I was like, you know, y'all in my business. You're not my yes man like I need you to be, so I'm gonna just hide and lie. Wow. So yeah. What about you, you know, with your community in the counterfeit relationships? So one of the things that is precious to me right now is accountability, right, and community. Back then, during that time, I wouldn't submit. Like they was like, hey Damien, you know what I'm saying? You said you was not gonna go over there, but you've been going over there late at night and things like that. And I wouldn't submit to their authority. And so one of the things I saw with myself is that I will tell the accountability after I went over it, not before it. And so true accountability, you're gonna tell before so they can actually correct you and help you and get back in line with God. And so that's one of the big things. I wouldn't submit, you know. And so when people give you that advice, one of the things that we say is accept it, receive it, and then submit to it. And so submit to that godly community because they're there to help you out. And that's why we always say don't date alone. Because sometimes we can't spot a counterfeit, our friends can. And so when you invite the community, listen to them, and like you said, submit, because they have your best interest, hopefully. If your community does not have your best interest at heart, you need new community. So we talked about a little bit about our counterfeits and the red flags, flags on the plate, the jewel inspectors. Now you're married to me.
Yeah.
Your real thing, right?
Yeah.
From God, we hope so. And so how did you stop falling for counterfeits? Like, what did you have to do in order to no longer waste your time with a counterfeit relationship?
Man, God literally woke me up, especially from the last situationship, and said this person had too many men. And I was like, I knew it was a word from the Lord. And one of my accountability called me. He said, hey man, you still talking to this girl? I said, nah, bro, I cold turkeyed it. And he said, man, that's so good because look, and he sends me a picture and the young lady was with another guy. And I was like, wow, like God literally saved me and snatched me. And so when that happened, I rededicated my life to this life of purity. God told me to read my book, #completely single. And I actually went on a missions trip and I dove straight into serving God and just trying to find purpose in the earth. And so after, when I came back, I had 3 confirmations that said, you're ready for a spouse. And you came a couple months after that.
Slid into the
after that.
Y'all make sure y'all check out our How God Wrote Our Love Story.
So what about you? Like, how did God take you out of that situation with your counterfeit relationships?
You gotta have those S's.
S's.
So I realized the reason why I was in counterfeit relationships because my relationship with God was really counterfeit. I did not have a genuine relationship with God because if I did, I would not cheat on God every time I was in a relationship. And so that was my focus, was like, okay, let's clear up this counterfeit relationship you have with God and really fall in love with him to where you obey him. He says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments.
Yeah.
And so I had to remove the idol of wanting to be married and just wanting that acceptance from men to receiving acceptance from God. And so once I really focused on God, I was like, okay, me and God, we tight now. I had to look at the cycles, like, okay, what caused me to continue to fall into counterfeit relationships? And that's where God gave me, I believe God gave me this idea to create this counterfeit relationships journal to reflect on past relationships where you look at about 3 relationships and answer some questions about it. Like, okay, what were some of the red flags, the flags on the play? What did your friends say about it? What did God say about it? Because God was telling me, like, this is not who I have for you. Like, this guy is not in a real relationship with me. His relationship with me is counterfeit as well. And so, and then just highlighting the themes and praying that and being aware of the temptations that the devil keeps getting me into to fall into those counterfeit relationships.
And so when you talk about themes, you talking about the cycles?
The cycles,
yeah.
The cycles, because it was they were common. It's like, okay, this is the same cycles every time. And so I had to be aware and making it plain, writing it down and making it plain so I won't fall for it again. And then doing the 31-day devotional to just work on our relationship with God and just falling in love with him. And so that's why I created this journal, is to help other women to heal from the past, to understand, like, why do you keep getting into these relationships that are not of God, and really turning your heart back to him and believing him for the real thing. I believe that there are women that will be married. We just have to focus back on the right thing, the real thing with Jesus Christ, and he will bring, you know, what he has for us in the meantime.
So where can they find it?
Amazon. It is out now on Amazon. We will definitely have the link and information in the description. And so I really believe this will bless you. We've had people look at it and like, bro, I need this like now, before it came out. So it's out now.
All right, so get your journal. Again, my name is Damien Nash.
And I'm Kenady Nash.
And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.